ExxonMobil does make investments in public health and women's education and other charitable endeavors in the West African countries where it works. I think I would say the single most effective investment and important investment that they've made that's actually changed something on the ground is in malaria eradication in Equatorial Guinea and some other places where they've worked with Marathon and others to do something useful. They're very cautious, however, about anything that smacks of nation building. They're constantly being strong-armed by their host governments to build hospitals or roads or to do more, and they refuse to do it as part of the same kind of universal contract regime that they follow. I think the most discouraging case overall is in Chad, where Exxon owned some leases that were stranded in the desert in southern Chad, actually where the desert blends into the semi-tropical forests of Cameroon. And they'd never been able to develop that oil because there was no pipeline. And so they brought, in the 90s, the World Bank, the Clinton administration, and others together around this very ambitious experiment in trying to beat the resource curse, the so-called resource curse Dutch disease, where poor countries that lead their development through resource extraction often find that they go backwards rather than forwards because of the distorting effect of such heavy resource development in poor economies with little human capital. And so the idea was to beat the resource curse by establishing this grand social experiment in which the authoritarian leader, shall we politely call him, of Chad, Idris Deby, would agree to route oil proceeds through a secure bank account in London and spend them only on social development, public health, education, and other agreed allocations. And Exxon benefited from this pact, even though it smacked of nation building of the sort they normally abjure, because it allowed them to get this pipeline financed and to develop the oil. Well, when this project started, Chad, which is a really moving and benighted place, only fortunately 11 million people live there, but it's a pretty miserable place to be, kind of a fourth world country, really. When this began, they were 171st out of 177 nations on the Human Development Index, the quality of life indicators. Life expectancy in Chad was 46 years when this project began. Well, today, 2011, after the production of many billions of dollars in oil revenue out of this social experiment, they're 181st out of 187 countries, and life expectancy is 49 years. And Idris Deby in 2006, 2007 was able to buy his way out of this deal so that he could buy weapons. He essentially broke the compact, and he defied the World Bank president at the time, Paul Wolfowitz, the former Bush administration deputy defense secretary, who challenged him, said, no, we're going to confront you about your attempt to get out of this bargain. And he basically used the extraordinary amount of revenue he had from ExxonMobil to pay the World Bank off and free himself from his obligations and to do what he wanted. And just to give you a sense of what the power of a corporation like ExxonMobil represents in a country like Chad, at the time that he broke the deal, 2006, 2007, the United States Embassy in Chad, one of the world's poorest nations, was delivering in total, and if you include counterterrorism aid to chase notional al-Qaeda guys around the desert in the north, total aid, no more than $10 million a year. And the royalty and tax checks that ExxonMobil was cutting to Idris Deby by 2007 were in excess of $500 million a year. So if you're Idris Deby and you're sitting there and you're looking across, there's the US Embassy, there's the ExxonMobil country representative office, who are you going to call?